So welcome to Dynamic Foundry Group. Today we are going to see a small video on how to decide the sand storage capacity and sand volume in the green sand foundry. This is very important topic for installing new foundry or also to them who are going to expand their capacity of production. So factors affecting sand storage capacity. Total sand consumption per day is important factor. Sand to metal ratio, core influx, distance of sand travel from knockout to mixer, availability of sand cooler, efficiency of sand cooler. These are the important factors while deciding sand storage capacity or volume of the sand required in the green sand molding plant. So total sand consumption per day is the first important factor. So total sand consumption per day will be decide your required sand volume in the system. It is very important. You have to gather enough factual data of required sand per day based on the box size and the sand weight per box and the number of boxes per day. Sand to metal ratio plays an important role in deciding the total sand volume required in the system. If the sand to metal ratio is on lower side, sand becomes more and more hot and sand temperature rise will be more to need more sand in the system to get less return sand temperature. So if sand to metal ratio is on lower side, your sand will become more and more hot and so more sand will be required in the system. So let us consider the sand to metal ratio as 1 to 3 and 1 to 8 in foundry A and B respectively. So here the foundry with 1 to 3 sand to metal ratio, that is foundry A, will require more sand volume because their sand to volume ratio is less, so their sand will become more and more hot, and to get uh, cooler return sand, you need more volume of sand. Whereas 1 to 8 sand ratio foundry, that is foundry B, the sand ratio will is on higher side, so the sand will not be become that hotter. So definitely the sand volume required will be less than we can say foundry A. So foundry B will require less sand than foundry B. So these are the important factor, that is sand to metal ratio. You have to understand what is your sand to metal ratio with respect to your box size and weight of the sand in the box. You have to decide it, and on base of that you can decide the volume in the volume of sand in the sand plant. Core influx and fresh sand additives will also make an important role in deciding the sand volume required in the system. If the core influx is more, say 10%, and in another case it is 3%, then the sand volume required in first case, that is 10% core influx, will be always less than with will be more than less than having 3% of core influx. So the core influx is more, you will getting much cooler sand, and definitely your sand volume required will be less. Core influx and fresh sand additions will help you in reducing your return sand temperature. Hence, if the core influx is there, it plays an important role in deciding the sand volume of the sand plant. So core influx and fresh sand addition is important. Distance between sand travel from knockout to mixer. So distance of sand travel from knockout to mixer is very important. How much is the distance from your knockout or shakeout to mixer is going to be deciding factor in deciding the sand volume. More is the distance of knockout of to sand mixer, the more will be the return sand cooling, and hence we can get less temperature for return sand. So the if the distance is more, the hotness will get reduced or the cooling will be better, and you will require less volume of sand. If the distance is less, then sand temperature will be more hot, or more it will be more, so sand volume required will be more in the system. So availability of sand cooler. Sand cooler plays an important role here. Sand cooler will help you to reduce return sand temperature. This is one of the function of sand cooler, this reduction of temperature. The main function of sand cooler is to remove dust. A separate video is already there on YouTube, Dynamic Foundry Group YouTube channel. So please go and watch it if you want to understand what is another function of sand cooler. But here sand cooler we can considering that it will reduce the return sand temperature. So if you have a sand cooler, the volume required will be little less. If you don't have a sand cooler, the volume required will be more. Then effectiveness of the sand cooler is also important. If sand cooler is there, it is how much effective it is. It will be very important. If the sand cooler is efficient and it is reducing the temperature from input to output, the temperature drop is good. You can say around 30 to 40-degree drop is there. Then definitely your sand volume required will be less. If sand cooler is not efficient, the temperature drop is not above 30-degree, or it is around 10 to 15-degree or 20-degree, then you may require more volume of sand in the system to get proper or cool quality of return sand. So this efficiency of sand cooler plays an important role in deciding the volume of the sand in the system. Calculating sand volume in the system is very important. Now we are going to see first important thing is deciding the sand volume in the system is the sand requirement per day and number of sand rotations per day or per shift. So in normal thumb rule is that green sand molding with average sand to metal ratio of around 1:5 or 1:6, you must have 3 rotations per day or 1 rotation per shift to get enough drop in return sand temperature. So 1 rotation per shift or 3 rotation per day are required at we can say average sand to metal ratio 1:5, 1:6. So let us take an example here. We have a 500-ton capacity of Foundry, and for making up 500 ton of good casting, we have to make 20 ton of good casting per day, around 28 ton of liquid metal per day. So considering sand to metal ratio 1:7, we need around 200 tons of sand per day. So 200 tons of sand is required per day. So considering 3 rotations per day, we can say around 75 ton of sand is needed in the system. So requirement of sand will be around 75 tons. To have 75 tons of sand in the system, we should have a sand hopper of around 60-degree, 60 tons. Considering the molding boxes and all this, it will make up of around 75 tons of sand. So we need around 60 ton of hopper to be installed. Further, if the sand to metal ratio is 1:3, so it is reduced, then your requirement of sand hopper will go increase up to 75 tons than that of 60 tons. So you can say roughly around 15 to 20% of your sand volume may go up and down based on all the other factors like core influx, how much core influx is there, the distance between knockout to mixer, maximum casting weight, cooler efficiency, sand to metal ratio. All these factors will vary your volume of sand by 15 to 20-degree, 15 to 20% of estimated sand volume. Basic estimated sand volume, as I told you, you have to calculate this sand required per day or per shift, and then you have to consider 3 rotations per day or 1 rotation per shift, and then you can get a volume of sand required per in the system. So to that volume of sand required in system, you can add around 15 to 20-degree, or you can reduce around 15 to 20-degree based on these factors which we have already considered, that is core influx, distance of knockout to mixer, maximum casting weight, then cooler efficiency, cooler availability, etc. So you can, on the basis of this, you can calculate your sand volume. Some important tips. More importantly, one has to maintain the sand volume in the system should be always 70 to 80% of total sand volume at any given time. So you have requirement of 75 tons of sand volume in the system. You should have always more than 55 to 60 tons of sand in the system at any given time. It should not be less than that at any given time. So you have to keep adding sand from the leakages. You have to reduce your leakages from the sand plant or sand system to maintain that capacity is very important. When we consider the sand system, we have to consider the sand in return sand hopper as well as the sand in the boxes as well. Some more tips. If enough sand volume is not maintained in the system, then the return sand temperature will increase, dead clay would get increased, and this will make more moisture, thus more compactability, less GCS, and will have impact on casting quality, giving rise to defects like blowhole, rough surface finish, metal penetration, swelling, etc. So You can say if your sand volume is not maintained properly, your dead clay will go up, your sand return sand temperature will go up, and you will have having a lot of issues with the casting quality. Many times we expand our molding capacity by adding new molding machine or molding line, by adding new or replacing old sand mixer. You can say from 500 tons of Foundry to 750 tons of uh, Foundry. So we are going to expand this Foundry, and then we make additional line. We make or we replace old sand mixer to new sand mixer. But we forget to increase the sand volume in the system by adding additional hopper. This is what is happening practically in the foundries, and we expand the capacity by just adding molding line, just replacing the mixer. But we forget to think on the sand volume required. So due to less sand volume, we face rejections or issues like high dead clay, hot return sand issue, ultimately increases your rejection and quality issues. So it is important whenever you decide or whenever you think of expanding your capacity, definitely you have to rethink on your sand volume in the system as well. Design of sand storage hopper is also very important. I'm just touching this point again here. Design of storage sand hopper is very important. Many times we do the wrong design of storage hopper, and because of that, sand gets stuck at the corner of the hopper, and this freezing of sand layer will allow the latest or new latest or present sand coming from the system, or hot sand coming from the system, to pass directly from the center portion of the hopper to the molding line or to the mixer, and this will increase the return sand temperature. So it's very important. These are some of the designs of the sand hopper. The spherical or round type of hopper are most preferable designs, though we have most of the time that square type hoppers where we are using those hoppers normally, but importantly, round shape or spherical shape hoppers are more preferred. So this is from my side. Thank you very much for patient hearing.